You know, the funny thing about betrayal? It never kicks down the front door. It slips in through the side window, settles in your favorite chair, and smiles like it's always belonged. It was a Monday. Lauren's suitcase had barely cleared the doorway when the silences started feeling heavier. The kind that whisper to you when you try to sleep. She used to check in, send photos, say miss you like she meant it. But this time, just one text in 2 days. Everything's great. Beautiful view. No punctuation, no warmth. Just cold pixels from a cold bed that wasn't mine. I didn't eat much that evening. I just sat in my recliner staring at the same corner of the room I always do when I feel something shift. You know what I mean? That sixth sense that lives somewhere behind your ribs and whispers, this ain't right. And then the call came. Not from Lauren. From the hospital. Mr. Reynolds, the voice said. There's been an incident involving your wife. 2 hours later, I'm standing under fluorescent lights, watching a nurse wheel my wife into a room, motionless from the neck down. Paralyzed. Her eyes flicked toward me. Not in relief. Not in love. In raw, bone-deep terror. Doctors talked in low tones. Spinal trauma, sudden collapse, no external signs of violence. I barely heard them. I was looking at her face, pale, pinched, frightened like I'd never seen before. Something had happened, but she wouldn't speak. Not then. She didn't have to. Because the next morning, our daughter arrived. Katie. God bless that girl. 19, sharp as a scalpel and just as precise with words. She walked into that hospital room like a detective who already had the evidence bag in hand. Mom, she said softly, I know where you were. I know what happened. Lauren's eyes widened. She tried to speak, to lie maybe, but the paralysis had taken her voice too. Katie leaned in, her expression unreadable. You were in that hotel with a man named Derek, not Marissa. I tracked your phone. I saw the footage. I didn't move. My blood was a glacier in my veins. 2 days ago, Katie continued, you and Derek were in that room when the blackout happened. Hotel lost power for 3 hours. But it wasn't just the power. Something else happened, didn't it? Lauren blinked once, then twice. Her eyes filled with tears. You saw something, Katie said. And whatever it was, it didn't let you leave the room the same. My wife, this woman I used to kiss goodnight, began to tremble. Not physically, of course. Her body wouldn't move. But her eyes. God, her eyes. They were screaming. And that was when she finally found her voice, just enough of it, hoarse and broken like the last note of a dying violin. It came through the mirror. The room went dead silent. Katie and I just stared. I don't know what it was, she rasped. But it came for him first. I stepped closer. My fists clenched. Who is him? Derek, she whispered. He said something. Mocked it. Laughed at it. Then her eyes rolled back. Her mouth quivered. It bent him in half. Bent him. Then it looked at me. Said nothing. Just stared. Next thing I know, I'm on the floor. Couldn't move. Katie turned to me. Her face wasn't scared. It was curious. Calm. Like something had just clicked into place. I looked back at my wife. My cheating, lying, paralyzed wife. Whatever demon had visited that hotel room, I didn't send it. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't thank it. I didn't speak to her for hours after that. What could I say? You deserve it? Serves you right for slipping into hotel sheets with someone who wasn't your husband? No. I just sat in that stiff-backed hospital chair, watching her wilt beneath the machines, tubes in her nose, her chest rising and falling like it still had a right to breathe the same air as mine. Katie left for the night. Said she needed time to think. Said she was going to visit her friend, though I noticed she packed a small duffel. That girl had more of me in her than I thought. Quiet, observant, calculating. I didn't ask questions. I trusted her more than anyone now. Lauren kept watching me. She blinked a lot. Maybe it was the paralysis. Maybe it was guilt. Or maybe she was still seeing it. Whatever had climbed through that hotel mirror and cracked her bones without leaving a single bruise. At 3:12 a.m., I finally asked, what did it look like? Her lips parted, dry. I brought the straw to her mouth, and she sipped, trembling. Her voice was just above a whisper, like it was afraid to make the story too real. I didn't see its face, she said. Just shadows. Long arms. It moved like it wasn't part of this world. Like it didn't need rules like gravity. You said Derek mocked it. She nodded, barely. What did he say? Her eyes flicked to the heart monitor. It was spiking. He said it looked like a circus prop. Called it a poor attempt at horror. Said it was a dumb trick the hotel pulled. Lauren swallowed. Hard. He spit at it. I blinked. He spit at it. She closed her eyes. It caught the spit midair with a hand. A pause. Then it put the spit back in his mouth. I felt my stomach churn. It opened his jaw wider than it should have gone, and forced it in. And then, she didn't finish. Didn't have to. Because in that silence, I could almost hear Derek's screams. By sunrise, I'd already been online 3 hours. I don't know what I was searching for. Hotel entity mirror demon? None of the keywords felt right, but I knew better than to ignore instinct. The place Lauren stayed at? The Galloway Crest. 5-star beachside resort. Expensive, sleek, and drowning in luxury. I'd booked us there once. Anniversary, 3 years back. She canceled last minute, claimed the flu. Now I knew it wasn't the flu. It was Derek's abs and a secret suite booked under his name. But something was off in the reviews. I found one that caught my eye, posted just a week before Lauren's little spa trip. Room 923. Woke up to see myself in the mirror, only I wasn't moving. My reflection grinned at me. I didn't. Never staying here again. Creepy? Sure. Could have been a prank. Could have been one of those TikTok ghost-chasing nut jobs. But then I saw the other ones. Strange shadows under the door. Asked the front desk about it. They changed my room immediately. Said the previous guest had reported hallucinations. Room 922. My girlfriend had night terrors every night. She screamed about something crawling across the ceiling. We cut our trip short. And then this. Room 925. Do not stay here. My husband collapsed mid-shower. Paramedics say spinal trauma. He's paralyzed now. No sign of injury. Doctors are baffled. Nobody talks about it. They offered us a refund and made us sign a waiver. Room 925. The exact room Lauren and Derek had checked into. I called the hospital later that day and asked for an update. Stable, they said. No signs of improvement. Full paralysis from the neck down. We've never seen anything quite like it. Yeah, I bet. When Katie returned that evening, she didn't say much. Just sat beside me in the hospital room, twirling the chain around her neck the way her mom used to. She had a manila folder in her lap. I pulled security footage, she said. You what? I used mom's login from her job, Katie said flatly. She still has access to some legal databases. I guess being married to a lawyer finally came in handy. She passed me the folder. There were photos. Grainy stills from the hallway outside room 925. One showed Lauren and Derek entering around 8:47 p.m. The next, 8:52. A tall, thin figure, impossibly thin, standing outside the door. It didn't look at the camera. It didn't need to. Its head was tilted toward the peephole. And then, nothing. No record of it leaving. Back in the hospital room, Lauren started crying again. Her whole face scrunched like a child's. Pathetic. You believe me now, she rasped. I believed you the moment you told me it came through the mirror, I said coldly. Why? I stood up, slipped the folder back into Katie's bag. Because monsters only go where they're invited. You learn a lot when your wife cheats on you. Like how easily someone you've trusted for a decade can lie with her eyes and smile through betrayal. Or how quickly, I love you, turns into I loved you. Once someone better looking with a gym membership walks by. But you learn something else, too, something darker. You learn what you're capable of when the illusion shatters. After Katie showed me those stills from the Galloway Crest hallway, I didn't sleep. My body was upright in bed, but my mind was hunting. I played back every detail, every deviation, every moment Lauren had looked at me just a little too calmly when she said she was working late. 3 months ago, she'd stopped letting me touch her. Said she was too tired. Derek must have had a miracle sleep supplement, because she sure didn't seem tired in the surveillance footage. Her legs worked just fine then. Funny how justice waits for the right moment to cripple a liar. I opened our home laptop, pulled her browser history. She was sloppy. She hadn't even cleared the autofill settings. A few clicks later, I had it all. Reservation confirmation under the name D. Marsden. Her reply, can't wait. I need to feel again. And an attachment, a selfie she took, half covered in sheets that weren't ours. Her wedding ring off. Her face glowing like she'd finally come alive. I printed it all. Every last message. Put it in a red folder. She used red for client folders. I figured she'd appreciate the symbolism. I brought it with me the next morning. The nurses smiled politely. She's doing better today, one said. She even asked for books. Books. Of course. Always playing the victim, right? Let me fill the silence with Jane Austen while I conveniently forget I tore my family in half. I sat beside her. She blinked, slow. I dropped the red folder onto her blanket. She looked at it, then at me, and her lips quivered. I didn't know how to tell you, she whispered. You didn't need to tell me, I said. The ghost did. Her eyes widened. I leaned closer. I believe it came for him. I believe it chose to leave you alive. Which makes me think it wasn't punishing you. Tears spilled over her cheeks. No, I continued. It was marking you. Katie stayed with me that night. We made tea and sat by the window. For the first time in years, I realized how much of her childhood I'd missed while trying to be the perfect provider. Lauren had made me believe that being a good man meant being an invisible one. Not anymore. Dad, Katie said, what now? I didn't answer at first. Just watch the dark street, the streetlights casting long shadows across our lawn. She betrayed me, I said finally. But that thing, it marked her. Katie nodded. Do you think it's still out there? I exhaled. I think it never left. The next day, I visited the Galloway Crest myself. No reservation. Just walked in and asked to see the manager. Ah yes, room 925, he said, eyes flicking to the side. Is there something wrong? It crippled my wife, I said flatly. The man paled. I don't know what you mean. I reached into my coat, pulled out a copy of the still image. The thin figure, standing in the hallway. He went even paler. Look, sir, we're not supposed to talk about it. Corporate gave us strict instructions. Did you ever see it? I asked. He didn't answer, just stared at the photo. And then, very quietly, he said, it only shows up to those who leave the door open. Later that night, I pulled the photo up again, enlarged it, stared at the figure. It didn't have a face, but it had posture, a tilt, an intent. I leaned closer to the screen. My reflection in the monitor stared back. Only I wasn't moving. For a split second. I swear it blinked. People think the worst part of betrayal is the moment you find out. That first shattering crack when your heart splits and you realize they chose someone else. But that's not the worst of it. The worst part is everything that comes after, when you're still breathing, but nothing around you feels like yours anymore. The house? Haunted. The bedroom? A grave with sheets. Even your own reflection? A stranger who looks just like the fool who believed. After Lauren's paralysis, they moved her to a long-term recovery unit. Top floor, private room, state-of-the-art equipment, paid for by the insurance policy I added when we renewed our vows. Funny how promises come back with interest. I visited her once a week. Not out of loyalty. Out of calculation. You don't let a woman like that disappear into silence. You keep her close, because watching guilt rot someone from the inside is the slowest, sweetest justice there is. This time, I brought her the folder again. She stared at it like it might bite her. Good instinct. I want you to read them again, I said. Her eyes pleaded. Please, don't. Read every word you sent him. Her lips twitched. Her neck strained. But she obeyed. I miss your hands. I wish he'd stop talking about work and just look at me. I think I love you. 3 bullets. All aimed at my spine. I waited for the tears. Waited for her to try and explain. But all I got was silence. And then, the soft hum of her heart monitor, a steady rhythm that didn't belong to any heart I recognized. You know what the thing in the mirror really was? I asked. Her gaze drifted to me, weakly. It wasn't a ghost. It wasn't a demon. It was a mirror. A twisted, walking version of what you really are. She blinked, once, twice. I think it came to show you yourself. That night, I received an email. No subject line. No sender listed. Just a single line of text. She wasn't the first, but she will be the last. Attached, a photo. It was Derek, curled up on the floor of room 925. Jaw locked open. I stretched wide in the kind of terror you can't fake. Only, his body wasn't whole. His limbs were reversed, twisted inward like someone had tried to turn him inside out. I didn't look away. Not once. The next morning, I returned to the Galloway Crest. I asked for room 925. The receptionist flinched. I'm sorry, sir. That room has been sealed. Fire hazard? No, sir. Spiritual. She said it without irony. A man in a blazer approached. Manager, again. Same one from before. You came back, he said. I need to see the room. He didn't move. Just stared at me. People don't come back from that room, Mr. Reynolds. Your wife is a rarity. I'm not scared. Good, he said. Because if you go in, you might not see yourself again. The key was heavy. Brass. Ancient, almost ceremonial. Not a card, not a code. Something about that felt right. Like the room wanted to know exactly who was entering. The hallway was quiet, carpeted in red. Room 925 sat at the end like a tumor. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. It was clean. Impossibly clean. Too clean. No smell. No dust. Just that mirror. Floor to ceiling. No frame. Like a portal stitched into the wall. I stepped closer. At first, it showed just me. A man older than he should be. Haunted. Hollow. Then the reflection twitched. Just for a second. I didn't. It did. You were right. A voice whispered. It wasn't mine. It came from the glass. I stepped back. The reflection grinned. My own face split into something unnatural. You brought her here, it said. No, I whispered. She chose it. The reflection chuckled. A horrible, broken sound like glass grinding against bone. She chose to lie. You chose to forgive. I said nothing. But now you know what you really are. The grin widened. You're me. I didn't run. I didn't scream. I walked out, locked the door, and left room 925 behind me. Because whatever lived in that room, it didn't haunt cheaters. It mirrored monsters. And it had seen mine. They say time heals all wounds. But those people have never had to live in a house that still smells like her perfume. Lauren had been moved into a private care facility 3 towns over. I made the arrangements myself. Found the most sterile place imaginable. No windows that opened. No mirrors in the room. No visitors unless pre-approved by me. She wouldn't be seeing anyone else for a long, long time. Katie had stopped asking if I still loved her mother. Smart girl. She understood now that love is just a fancy word people use when they don't want to admit they're stuck. I wasn't stuck anymore. I was awake. And when a man wakes up from a dream like mine, he doesn't go back to sleep. He builds something else. The messages from the hotel hadn't stopped. Every 3 days, like clockwork. No sender. No reply option. Just cryptic lines and photos, always with timestamps. He blinked first. That's how it got in. She tried to look away. That was her mistake. We see you, Nathaniel. Only one person ever called me Nathaniel. My mother. She died 12 years ago. So either someone was playing a very specific game, or something else was paying attention. I hired a private investigator. Not for Lauren. For Derek. I needed to know more about him. The kind of man who cheats with another man's wife always has history. Skeletons. And sure enough, the PI delivered. Derek Marsden. Age 38. Twice divorced. Fired from his last firm for inappropriate conduct with a subordinate. Lived alone. No pets. No close friends. Kept to himself. Until he didn't. The PI had even found security cam footage from a gas station 2 nights before the incident. Derek was on the phone, pacing by his car. You couldn't hear the call, but his body language told a story. Anger, fear, frustration, and then stillness. He dropped the phone. Just dropped it. Then looked straight into the camera. His eyes were wide. Mouth open. Like he was watching something behind the lens. The footage cut out right after that. Static. But the timestamp was 2:37 a.m. Same time Lauren claimed it visited the mirror. That evening, Katie knocked on my study door. I hadn't seen her all day. She'd been unusually quiet, which worried me more than anything. I need to tell you something, she said. Go ahead. She hesitated, then placed her phone on my desk. Pulled up a video. I didn't mean to. I just got curious, she said. I went back to the hotel. You what? Just the lobby. I never left public areas. She hit play. Grainy video. A mirror. Not the mirror, but one in the main corridor, small, decorative, near the elevators. Katie stood in front of it, holding up her phone. In the mirror? She wasn't alone. A figure stood behind her. Pale. Too tall. No eyes. Katie turned. No one there. She looked back into the mirror. Still there. Then the figure raised a hand. And Katie dropped the phone. End of recording. I stared at her, pulse thundering. You shouldn't have gone back. I know, she whispered. But Dad, it didn't feel evil. It felt sad. Sad. She nodded. It wasn't reaching to hurt me. It was warning me. Like it stuck. Like it wants out. That night I sat in bed, staring at the ceiling. The thing in the mirror didn't choose Lauren. It didn't choose Derek. It was trapped. Bound to that room. Bound to reflections. And those it touched? It left fingerprints. Not physical ones. Psychic. Emotional. And maybe, just maybe, intentional. Around 3 a.m., I looked in the mirror over our sink. Just stood there. Waiting. My reflection didn't move. Not at first. But then, just as I turned to leave, it blinked. Slow, deliberate, and behind my reflection's smile, teeth. Too many teeth. The morning after the blink, I shaved in the dark. No mirror. Just muscle memory and a sharp blade, like my grandfather used to. The world had changed, split clean down the middle like a rotted tree, and I wasn't about to stand in front of polished glass and pretend it hadn't. Katie stayed quiet over breakfast. We didn't talk about the video. Didn't mention the figure. We didn't have to. She knew what I saw, and I knew what she felt. She hadn't been scared. She'd been, understood. That rattled me more than anything. Later that day, the care facility called. Lauren had asked for me. They said it was urgent. Funny word, urgent. She hadn't said a damn urgent thing when she was packing a negligee into her weekend bag. But now, broken and stiff as a mannequin, she had something to say? I drove out there anyway. Not for her. For closure. For confirmation that whatever was living inside her now, whatever trace of that mirror-born thing still clung to her, hadn't spread beyond the hospital walls. She looked worse. Eyes sunken, lips cracked, skin the color of bruised parchment. But her mind? That was sharper than ever. There was clarity in those eyes. The kind that comes after seeing something you can't ever unsee. You came, she rasped. I didn't sit. I need to know, I said. Why him? Why Derek? Lauren blinked slowly. Because he made me feel something again. I nodded. Pain's a feeling, too. She looked away. He was charming. Easy. He listened. I stepped closer. He listened because he was a vulture circling a dying marriage. And you fed him scraps of your dignity. She didn't argue. I regret it, she whispered. Do you? She met my eyes. And for a moment, just a flicker, I saw her. The woman I'd married. The girl who once made pancakes at 2 a.m. just because I'd had a bad day. The one who laughed with her whole body. And then it was gone. Replaced by something hollow. I hear it sometimes, she said. Hear what? The mirror. Whispering. I felt my jaw tighten. Whispering what? That it's still hungry. On the drive home, Katie called. I found something, she said. What now? The blueprints. The Galloway crest wasn't built on normal land. It used to be a sanatorium. That tracked. For what? Sleep disorders. Night terrors. Hallucinations. The patients, half of them died. No cause of death ever listed. My hands tightened on the wheel. Yes, where room 925 sits, she asked. Tell me. Right above what used to be the mirror therapy room. We didn't speak for a long minute. Then Katie asked, do you think it's attached to her now? I don't know, I said. But I think it chose her. Why? Because mirrors don't lie. They reflect. And something in her must have matched what it was looking for. That night, I burned every mirror in the house. Sledgehammer in hand, I smashed the bathroom first. Then the vanity. Then the closet door she always insisted needed one for outfit checks. Each crack, each splintered piece of glass, felt like penance. Like slicing through the last strands of a marriage that had been rotting long before she met Derek. Katie watched. Said nothing. Until I got to the mirror in the attic. The one we never used. Wait, she said suddenly. I paused. She stepped closer. This one's different. It was older. Framed in black oak. One of those antique things her grandmother left behind. We hadn't touched it in years. She knelt down. Ran her fingers along the bottom edge. And then, like pulling a lever, something clicked. A panel slid open beneath the mirror's frame. Inside? A photograph. Black and white. Dated 1933. It showed a man in a hospital gown. Standing alone. In front of that same mirror. Except in the photo, the reflection wasn't him. It was grinning. The man in the photo didn't look insane. He looked relieved. Like whatever stared back at him from that mirror had finally made sense of his fractured little world. Katie studied the image under the dim light of the attic bulb, her brow furrowed, fingers trembling just slightly at the edges. I knew that look. She was trying to rationalize it, to explain it away with psychology or photography tricks. But there was no explanation. Not one that mattered anymore. The mirror hadn't just been reflecting him, it had been replacing him. Dad, Katie whispered. We need to find out who this is. I nodded. She scanned the photo with her phone, ran a quick reverse search. A few minutes later, she spoke. His name was Silas Dorian. Patient at the Ridgewood Institute, same place the Galloway crest was built on top of. I raised an eyebrow. What was he treated for? Katie scrolled. Delusions involving glass. Claimed mirrors were doorways. Said reflections were a kind of soul tax. That every time you look at yourself, Something on the other side takes a little more of you. Charming. I took the photo from her hand, stared at Silas. There was a bite to his smile, something just a shade too proud. Not the smile of a madman. The smile of a man who invited the madness in. We drove out to the old Ridgewood Records building the next day. It was barely standing. Waterlogged wood, vines creeping up the stone foundation, shingles hanging on for dear life. But the basement archive had survived, barely. Inside, yellowed files crumbled under our touch. Katie found it first. Patient number 0487, Silas Dorian. His file read like a horror novella. Subject insists reflections are alive, independent of the original viewer. Claims they whisper at night. Demands all mirrored surfaces be covered. Last week, patient was found in the therapy room alone, bleeding from the eyes, murmuring, "I'm finally free." No signs of trauma. There was a second page. One the nurse had scribbled over in panicked handwriting. He was smiling, but the reflection wasn't. The reflection looked afraid. Back in the truck, Katie sat silent. She was pale. "You okay?" I asked. "Not really," she said. "Because that reflection in the file? The one that looked afraid?" "Yeah, I think that's the real one." I looked over. Katie's eyes were glassy. "It's like the thing on our side, the thing we see in the mirror every morning. That's not us. Not anymore." That night, I took down every last scrap of reflective surface in the house. Screens, sunglasses, even the glass on framed photos. It all went into the burn pile out back. Flames licked the night air as I fed them piece by piece. Every item another layer peeled away from the illusion we'd built around our lives. When the last one cracked in the firelight, I finally said it out loud. "I think the mirror chose Lauren, because she was already split." Katie nodded. "You think it wants you now?" "I think it's waiting." At 3:07 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown sender. No subject. Just one image. A hospital hallway. Lauren's room. She was asleep. Or so I thought. In the corner of the photo stood a shadow. Tall. Thin. Arched at the spine like a question mark. Its face was just glass. Like a handheld mirror, but vertical, where a head should be. And in its face? Me. Not present-day me. Not the broken man who'd spent months burying the shards of his marriage. It was me smiling. Wedding day smile. That wide, stupid grin you give when you think love is forever. I stared at that image for a long time. Then I scrolled down. There was a message. 5 words. "She gave you to us. She gave you to us." 5 words. That was it. But they sliced through everything I thought I still had left, like a scalpel dipped in frost, carving out the last ounce of my illusions. I stared at the message while the fire out back burned low. Katie had gone to bed hours ago. Or at least pretended to. I knew better. She was watching the hallway mirror, the only one we hadn't smashed yet, the one I told her to leave alone. The antique that used to hang in Lauren's office. It had always felt wrong, even before everything started falling apart. Now, it practically hummed in the dark. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. I sat at the kitchen table with a mug of coffee I didn't drink and a pistol I hadn't touched in 5 years. It wasn't for protection. It was a test. I set the pistol down and stared at my reflection in the window, just faint enough to catch in the early morning darkness. My reflection didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't mirror me. It just watched, like it was waiting for permission. By dawn, Katie came downstairs. "Dad," she said, quiet. "You should look at this." She handed me her phone. It was another message. Not an email this time. Not anonymous. It came from Lauren's number. Only, the timestamp was from the middle of the night. When her arms didn't work. When her fingers couldn't move. When the nurses said she was sedated. The message read, "He wants your skin now, not just your face." Then a second message. Just one word. Run. I drove to the facility. Didn't call ahead. Didn't wait. Just walked in, straight to Lauren's room. The nurse at the desk tried to stop me. "Visiting hours aren't." She texted me, I said flatly. "I think something's wrong." She paled. "Sir, she can't move. Her hands, she hasn't moved them since the night she arrived." I didn't respond. I already knew. I pushed open the door and froze. Lauren was sitting up. Her eyes were white. No iris. No pupil. Just milky, vacant orbs like the mirror had wiped her from the inside out. And on the wall, written in something dark and wet, were words smeared by trembling fingertips. "IT doesn't need glass anymore." I stumbled back. The nurse screamed. Someone called security. But I didn't stay. I couldn't. Because when I turned to leave, The reflective trim on the overhead light caught my face. And I wasn't in it. Just Lauren, smiling. Back home, Katie had locked the mirror room. She'd nailed it shut, board by board. I heard something breathing, she whispered, but not like lungs. More like wind across ice. Or teeth. I nodded. We have to end it, I said. She swallowed. How? Whatever it is, it needs an invitation. Katie narrowed her eyes. Like a vampire? No, I said. Like a debt collector. It doesn't come to take. It comes to collect. That night, I made a decision. I put on the same shirt I'd worn the day Lauren said, I love you, for the first time. The same jeans I wore the night I built her that damn garden box out back. The clothes of a man who used to believe. I lit candles, one by one. Not for drama. For clarity. Then I walked into the attic, and I stood before the final mirror. You want me? I said quietly. Come get me. The surface rippled. My reflection looked bored, then amused. Then it stepped forward. My knees buckled, but I didn't run. I stared into its face and saw Lauren, her affair, her laughter in that hotel bed with Derek, her fake tears in the hospital. But I also saw myself. Every night I'd stayed silent. Every truth I'd swallowed. Every mirror I'd passed without ever really seeing who I'd become. It leaned forward and spoke in my voice. You didn't lose her, Nathaniel. You gave her away. One compromise at a time. I whispered, what do you want? Its smile split open like a paper cut through flesh. I want your permission.